Hey, welcome back. I'm so excited to talk to you today about something that I honestly had a revelation today. And so this video will be, I think, really helpful, really encouraging for you if you have ever or are currently in a funk. Emotional, mental, you just can't seem to get out of your own way. You're just like all up in your head. This, I think, will be for you. And I want to talk a little bit specifically about journaling practices, which is a question that we get asked about a lot. Macy talks a lot about journaling. I've had a long history with journaling, probably the last 5 years. So I want to tell you a story that happened today, but a trend that I've noticed about when I'm in my head, when I don't feel right, when I don't feel aligned with how I want to. If you've listened to some of our videos about the $20 million identity, we'll link it here if you haven't, but our $20 million identity has come from this idea that if we want a $20 million business, 10 times larger than what we have now, then we have to be that now. We have to be 10 times what we are now. Our actual, the identity meaning, who are we? Like the being, the thinking, the doing, it all has to align with this bigger thing. And so we've been taking it on. And at the same time, along the same timeline, I have become life coach certified. So I've learned a lot about thoughts and like downloading this and everything, like downloading it from my brain onto paper and kind of teasing it out. It's a great practice. But I caught myself today. I caught myself recently. And this is where I think our maybe a journaling practice meets funk, meets the quote confusion around why am I not like doing what I want to be doing and getting where I want to go. Now, okay. So I think when you or anybody, any of us are in a funk, like how that's kind of defined, I don't think it's in the dictionary. I could probably look it up, but you just feel blah. You feel like out of the alignment. You feel like something isn't clicking, right? Like you feel like there's just lack of clarity in your ideas. Something's not moving and grooving. The wheels are not greased. Okay. Do you know what I'm saying? Is it just me? So what I found was a lot of times with like journaling or, kind of like that classic diary concept is we can be very quick to write down how we currently feel. And this is actually a very legitimate part of a journaling practice, like a life coaching yourself or someone else, like downloading how do you feel now? What are your thoughts now in the present? So it's so practical. But I think when we're in a funk, sometimes what I found for myself was I was really doing that like 90% of the time. How do I currently feel? What are my current thoughts? Because it's helpful to see what's up under the couch cushion, what's the grease, in the oven. We got to see it so that we can like take care of it. So practical. And when you are thinking about your version of the $20 million identity, your version of 10 times who you are now, what you want to be in the future, thinking a lot about the present and sometimes even the past because you're thinking about stuff that happened yesterday or last year, you start to get just into the dwelling land. Like, oh, well, no one likes me. No one's commenting. No one's following me. No one likes my stuff. Literally, I am the worst at this. What's the point, right? You start thinking and seeing this evidence of what's currently happening or what's happened in the past. And you're like, well, yeah, like this sucks. This sucks. No wonder I'm in a funk, right? And you almost start to validate it. Now, like I said, this is a very practical practice to be in, is to think about what's happening, now and even uncovering the past. Totally. But when I'm talking about being in a funk and therefore getting out of it, I want to tell you what I did today. I want to show you what happened for me, and you can do this. I hope you do this right after the video. And let me and Macy know how this felt for you, because I know that Macy has done this exercise and I did it today. I've done it before, but I got away from it because of this like present and past focused journaling. And people are always asking, like, how do you journal? What's your structure? And one of the best things that you can do is ask yourself questions. Ask yourself questions because every question must be answered. So sometimes it's, how am I feeling right now? What are my top 3 feelings right now? Which is what I've been doing. Sometimes it's, how did I show up in XYZ scenario? Right? And you just kind of download those thoughts. It's great. The question I asked myself today that I want to share with you that could be really helpful for you is, I just let myself be free, by the way, because I wanted to think about the future. Where there is no vision, the people perish. So there is so much power in thinking about the future and not feeling, defeated that it's not happened yet, not feeling like greedy for wanting something different, because our human nature like wants to develop, to grow, and to work for something. That's how we were created. So I want you to prompt you to think about, what is the future? If you've been struggling with feeling stagnant or funky and you just want to just take action on the thing you want to take action on, but you're in your own way, I want you to do this. So I asked myself this freely. Just what came up was, how does $20 million cat show up? Who is she? Who is she? And the word who reveals that identity piece. Who is she? Like, what kind of person, right? Like, because if you're talking to someone about someone, you're like, oh, who is she? You want them to describe her to you, right? And there's going to be all kind of stories and adjectives and characteristics that come out. So I'm like, well, cat, who is that cat? Who is that $20 million cat? And so I started writing about, who is she? Like, how would I describe her to me? Based on like just quick visualizations that I was having. And it was so amazing. A totally shifted line of thoughts came out. And the first thing that came out of my brain was, she shows up ahead and prepared. Ahead and prepared. Now, I know that's not super sexy, but I was thinking about what is she doing? And all of these verbs came out. So like shows up ahead and prepared. $20 million cat. This was like my favorite part of everything I journaled. $20 million cat has so much experience, so many reps, that her preparation is her playground. Her preparation is her playground. And I love that. And maybe you can kind of take that on for yourself, because if you think about yourself 10x from now, the thing where you're on the stages, or you have written the book, you're on that Dream 100 podcast interview. You have done so much to get there. You have so much under your belt that now when you're reading or you're studying or you're speaking, you're getting ready for those moments. It's like your playground. You're like, oh yeah, this is like how I think. This is what I do. Like when I study, it clicks. When I'm thinking hard, yeah, it's hard, and I know this is my playground because this is where all the results come from. Myron Golden, our coach, says that a prepared man is better than a prepared message. And so I was just thinking like, oh, she is prepared. And so then I went on to say that what she does, $20 million cat, she puts a majority of her time into preparing her mind, her body, and her spirit. Now, I don't know how this resonates with you, but what I then ended up doing was saying, how does 20 million, how, like what's the kind of movements here? How does $20 million cat prepare her mind? How does $20 million cat prepare her body? How does $20 million cat prepare her spirit? And you know what was crazy about that is all of these verbs came up. Like, she wakes up to have a dedicated silent space to think, to do the preparations, right? That's how she prepares her mind. She reads, she writes, she prays. All these verbs, right? We live in a world that can be very resistant to, oh, don't work too hard. Don't take too many actions. Don't overwork yourself. Don't try so hard. You're good just the way you are. And what I want to really just show you is that when you picture yourself in the future and you're like, oh, how did I get there? She did a lot of stuff. She did a lot of stuff. And guess what? Most of it will be unseen. In the unseen, dark moments. But you did things. You didn't just think about things. You did things that developed a new identity. You start to think about yourself differently as a result of taking new actions. How does she prepare her body? This is just like an example that I wrote, but she prepares her body for work and for motherhood by having healthy options available at all times. $20 million cat is not victim to whatever unhealthy options are available. I don't just not have them ready because I have kids who need their brains looking right and feeling right, and I need my brain looking and feeling right, right? The whole family does. She puts on, another verb, she puts on muscle and maintains flexibility. Isn't that like so just basic? But what I felt in that moment was she is strong and she is resilient. So all these things reflect like this person, this being that you are. And so all this to say, I want you to ask yourself, who is she? Like decide for yourself, what is that 10x version of you? And just get so curious. Who is she? If I met her today, if we met right now, what would it feel like? What would she tell me? What stories? What did she overcome? Because there's so much journaling from where this came from. This is just scratching the tiniest surface. But when you do this, I would be so curious to know what you think about you. What she's doing, thinking, feeling, and the stories she has. I think in a massive way, this will help you get past any funk. It does not necessarily change your present circumstances, and that's fine. Because all you need is a vision that is worth pursuing. Something that is worth moving through the discomfort. Getting out of your warm bed when it's colder. Putting on tennis shoes when you'd rather just be in your slippers. Right? All these like life metaphors for getting uncomfortable so that you can not just meet her in your visions, but you can be her when the time comes. I hope this encourages you. I can't wait to hear from you. You can like this video, comment if you have any questions, and honestly subscribe because there's so much more content where this came from so that you can be 10x who you were ultimately made to be.